What is up, everybody? Renfail here. Hopefully, you are doing well. And today, I wanted to talk about CRPGs. Specifically, I want to talk about 5 CRPGs that you can play in 2025 that aren't Baldur's Gate 3. So, if you've been jonesing for something fun to sink your teeth into, fantasy based, that gives you that group based, party based CRPG fun, we're going to be diving into 5 of my favorites, which I've done multiple playthroughs of over the years, and I would happily recommend to anybody out there looking for something to do this fall and over the winter, either by yourself or with friends, because all the games that I'm about to talk about can be played solo or you can play them with your friends in multiplayer modes. Without further ado, let's dive into the list. I am a huge Pillars of Eternity fan, and if you loved the old Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale 1, Icewind Dale 2 games, then Pillars of Eternity is going to be probably the closest you're going to get to that classic experience in a more modern format. This was Obsidian Entertainment coming off of, I believe it was a Kickstarter campaign. I think the second one they did through Fig. But this game was Kickstartered, and it is an incredibly complex and amazing game. Obviously, the world that they established with Pillars of Eternity has expanded a lot since then into the second game, but of course, with Avowed coming out earlier in 2025, which was the first person adventure version. Also, well, like I said, third person too. I played it in first person. Um, this game right here is probably one of my favorite CRPGs in the last. It's been I would put this up there with like Dragon Age Origins, and some of those other classic experiences, as a modern CRPG that you're going to have a lot of fun with. It is incredibly complex. I would highly recommend, if it's your first time playing, play it on story mode so that you don't have to deal with the complexities of the rule sets until you've learned everything. But once you start to learn things, they go into some really deep mechanics in this game with the resistances and the different types of magic. There's some super unique classes, some really unique races. This is Obsidian Entertainment establishing a brand new world and a brand new series of lore. Lots of voice acting. This is an incredibly deep game that I cannot recommend enough. Um, it came out as real time with pause when it first released. Sometime this year, it is supposed to be getting a turn based mode that Obsidian announced at the beginning of 2025. I will be making a return to Pillars of Eternity to play it through once again. I've already done three full playthroughs. I will happily be doing a fourth playthrough once the turn-based version of the game comes out, so stay tuned for that when it comes out. But definitely recommend this. It's available on PC or console, like all the other games. But this one is real time with pause. There's not a turn-based mode for this game yet, but it is coming down the pipeline. I love Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire way more than I love the first game. Like, the first game is really cool. The second game, it turns it all up to 11, and you've got a bigger game. You have a little bit of kingdom management in the first one, but in the second one, you get a ship. There's ship-based combat. You assemble a crew. You can actually deck out your ship. You can get better sails, better cannons. There's all this complexities going on with you sailing around the islands and having an adventure following in the footsteps of a god from the first game. And unlike the first one, this one did launch with real time with pause, but they ended up adding a when they worked on the port over to consoles, they ended up adding a turn-based mode as well. So for those of you who would like to play this version of this game in turn-based mode, you have the option to play this one in turn-based as well as the real-time with pause. Now, one of the other cool things about Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire is that this one takes all the voice acting and everything from the first game and cranks it up a notch and adds the entire Critical Role voice cast to the game, which is it's a real treat for those of you who love Dungeons and Dragons and role play and actual play series, which is one of the reasons why I can't recommend this game enough, because it is absolutely an immersive experience. You will have a lot of fun in this game, especially if you love good voice acting. The music, the world building, everything carries over from the first game. You have the same complexities with the addition of basically becoming a pirateer and having your own ship and sailing around these islands, and it's just absolute fun. highly, highly recommend this game for those of you who want to continue your adventures from the first game. Solasta Crown of the Magister is a game I will happily recommend to anyone looking for a traditional Dungeons and Dragons experience because this uses the exact same rule set as Baldur's Gate 3, which is 5th edition D&D. This is the budget version of Baldur's Gate 3. It's a game put together by a company called Tactical Adventures, who kickstarted this game. It's their own unique world, but it uses the 5th edition rule set. So it's the exact same dice rolls, the exact same spells that you're familiar with from Baldur's Gate 3 or Dungeons and Dragons, with some of their own unique takes on things, some unique races, some unique classes, so on and so forth, and of course a unique world and lore. It is a turn-based game with a grid system. It is an extremely crunchy game from a numbers perspective. I would argue that this is a more true to the tabletop experience of Dungeons and Dragons than Baldur's Gate 3 is. Baldur's Gate 3, however, is a much more polished, much larger budget game, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Solasta Crown of the Magister is a phenomenal experience. The base campaign, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I played, but the base campaign is around 30-ish hours long. They've had additional multiple DLCs that came out after the fact and added more story content to it, and the game did well enough that the company is currently working on Solasta 2, of which I have played the demo of a few months back. We live streamed the demo, and I will absolutely be playing the second game. This first one is built in the Unity engine. They're building the new one in Unreal 5. And if you have seen the demo playthrough that I did a few months ago, the second game looks much better than the first game with way more polish, better graphics, better everything. And honestly, I can't wait. But I would highly recommend that you play Solasta Crown of the Magister if you haven't yet. It's a party-based game, and you have all the things that you know and love from Baldur's Gate 3 with, the flanking attacks and the half damage and all the different things you get from going through. There's the verticality of jumping around and going up and over things. You can destroy things. There's cutscenes, and they did quite a good job for the budget that they had. And you will have a lot of fun in this game if you love dice rolls and good old-fashioned turn-based gameplay. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. Pathfinder Kingmaker was the first game that Owlcat did off of a Kickstarter campaign, and this is a phenomenal fantasy CRPG to sink your teeth into. It is based off of the Pathfinder rule set and the Pathfinder world, and specifically it focuses on the Kingmaker campaign. So if you've played the tabletop version of this and you're coming into the CRPG version of it, you're going to know some of the story beats. But if you haven't played it yet, this is a real treat. Now, this is an interesting one because unlike a lot of other fantasy CRPGs that focus on just the adventuring aspect of your party, there's actually a campaign management, or at least a kingdom management part of this, which is managing the kingdom once you get the castle there, thus the Kingmaker title in the name. That part of the game is also, interestingly enough, a sort of it's a sticky point for a lot of players because some players love the fantasy CRPG aspect of this game, but they don't love the kingdom management stuff because that can get a little tedious. But the good thing is that you're allowed to completely turn that off and just focus on having the adventure with your characters, and then from there you can sort of let the kingdom management stuff unfold on its own based on you just making some basic decisions in the gameplay. Like with most of other Owlcat games, the voice acting is phenomenal when it's there. It's not fully voiced, but it is nevertheless a great game, and I highly recommend this if you are looking for something to sink your teeth into in 2025. Now, on the heels of that is Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, which is the second game that uh, the Owlcat did in the Pathfinder universe. Now, this game is a little more complex than the first game. It's a little bit bigger. It's definitely I would argue, a more polished game than the first one. They have a lot more eyes on this one. There's a lot more content with this one. It is a much, much, much bigger experience. It's also features a complex campaign management, similar to the way the first game had the kingdom management. But in this case, you actually have the opportunity to manage vast armies as you deal with this ongoing war that's going on, because you are essentially coming in and taking part in this campaign that's going on with demons and angels and all sorts of craziness. The classes in this game and the subclasses and the way you can get these specialty abilities is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to give a shout out to Slandered Gaming because he has some really good guides on like the mystic paths and everything that you could take in this game. There is a lot going on in this one. I would argue that even more so than the first one, like Pathfinder Kingmaker can be played fairly, it's sort of like a fairly standard CRPG. I feel like Wrath of the Righteous takes it up a notch, and this game can get extremely complex if you want to play it in the higher difficulties and get into the weeds of all of the various rules and different. There's just a lot going on, which is going to lead us into the next two games, which are equally complex and yet incredibly fun. By the way, before we get to that point, don't forget, just like Kingmaker, you can turn off the campaign management of um, this game. So if you don't want to deal with the campaign stuff, you could just focus on the CRPG action with some good old-fashioned turn-based gameplay. Now, obviously, we could have made this list 25 games long, but I just wanted to stick to 5 games that I really love that are fantasy based. Some honorary mentions, we obviously could throw in Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 in here because Larian worked on those before Baldur's Gate 3, and they are phenomenal, phenomenal experiences. There's obviously Rogue Trader if we want to look at another one that Owlcat has done. Wasteland 3. There's a lot of great CRPGs out there, but I wanted to do a quick and easy 5 games that I absolutely love that are fantasy based that you could play this year if you've got a jonesing for something related to Baldur's Gate 3 and you want to get your fantasy RPG on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you've played those games, and if you do decide to play them, let me know which one of these is your favorite and which one you have the most fun with as you get around to playing them. Until then, stay safe, everybody. Happy gaming. Daily streams at 4:30 a.m. on YouTube and Twitch, and I'll see everybody in the next one.